Today, I'm going to fix Mario's worst character designs. From obese fungi to sentient cutlery, Nintendo's favourite unshaven Italian has always been surrounded by all manner of zany cartoon critters. Except when he isn't. For reasons unknown, the Big N decided some Mario games must avoid creating new character designs at all costs, leading to such inspired new cast members as Toad, disembodied voice, Toad again, Toad but with bow tie, and tape. Just tape. So in the spirit of the new Paper Mario remake putting unique characters back in the spotlight, we're reimagining the blandest, most forgettable designs from this series past to match. What if these boring old Toads were something more interesting? What if these generic inanimate object characters had more than 3 seconds of thought put into their designs? Maybe we can finally make all of those jaded Paper Mario fans happy, or at least put a sock in them for a while. So, as a wise man once said, let's a go.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Fortitude Valley, it's the Harry Gold Show, with your host, Harry Gold.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. Now, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door has long been a niche sacred cow for millennial JRPG fans with a kink for purple amputees, and its enduring appeal is owed not just to its multiple topless women and Princess Peach nude scenes, but also in no small part to the wide array of colourful characters which populate its world. More recent entries in the series, however, have opted to comprise their cast of naught but a vast repetitive ocean of toads, broken up only by a few disposable floating sidekicks and the occasional generic Mario baddie. This kind of baddie, not the other kind of baddie. Once upon a time, a jaunt through a desert town would bring one face to face with unique designs tailored for sand, sweat, and petroleum-based oligarchy. Yet the series' last entry, the Origami King, instead populated its own arid little burg with plain vanilla off-the-rack sniffets. There's a red one, and a blue one, and a green one, and a yellow one, but they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same. There's any number of directions they could have taken these dead-eyed hazmat gnomes, which would have been more visually distinctive and aligned with the world's theming. But who needs Ambien when you can just get your doctor to prescribe you Nintendo's post-2010s Mario spin-off design philosophy? By the same token, there's another town occupied solely by an old Mario adversary turned uninspired NPC, the Monty Moles. While I get that ethnic homogeneity is a popular pastime in Japan, the result here is still as bland as an Ed Sheeran lookalike contest. The designs wouldn't even have to be anything that revolutionary on their own. Miners that look like miners, who'da thunk it? But consistently seeding new characters throughout a game collectively builds a feeling of visual diversity, so we don't feel like your lead designer was a photocopy machine. It's not just the extras that are a little on the paint-by-numbers side around these parts either. The Origami King's second chapter introduces the player to another soldier in Nintendo's war on coherent world building, a ballerina named Birdo, whose species is also called Birdo, that may or may not be the same Birdo as all the other Birdos named Birdo. Instead of simply Xeroxing that big fleshy blow dryer for the umpteenth time, this would have been a great opportunity to instead create an entirely new Birdo character altogether. A new look, a new personality, a new deluge of regrettable fan art. We could have had it all. Though I must say, the strangest choice of the lot was what Nintendo did with the Origami Craftsman. Tell me, what part of this design says godlike power over life and death to you? He can make paper figurines sentient. He created Mario's sidekick and the game's main villain. I know Thousand Year Door fans harp on the too many toads thing a lot, but that game's Z-list extras had more thought poured into them than the most pivotal character in the Origami King's entire plot. We should be looking at not just a unique outfit, but a fully personalized origami-themed design. Unique pose, unique expression, unique lip upholstery, the whole kit and caboodle. And if toads are still just a little too unexciting for anyone, we could look at an alternative species. Seeing as this man somehow births living, breathing origami by folding it kind of funny, perhaps the shaman race of mages and mystics would be a suitable alternative. And there's plenty more designs where those came from. But first, before we continue, this episode of The Harry Gold Show was brought to you by NordVPN.
Hi, Frank.
Phil, you seem different today.
Oh, me? You're just imagining things.
These humans sure are dopey, ain't they, Phil?
They sure are, Frank.
I just hate sometimes they get caught by phishing scams. You know, where a scammer tricks you into handing over sensitive information by pretending to be someone you trust. Only a human could fall for something like that.
I guess you're right, Frank. Want a worm?
Thanks, Phil. Don't they realize that NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro feature can recognize malicious racist links and warn them about dangerous websites?
Gee, I suppose not, Frank.
This seems tougher than I expected. Nord protects them from malware, DDoS, man-in-the-middle attacks, and more. And right now, you can get a huge discount with the purchase of a 2-year plan. Plus 4 extra months and a voucher for sailing. A new eSIM Service app for Nord Security.
Why is Frank in such a hurry?
Must have been something he ate.
Grab NordVPN's exclusive deal using the link in the description. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
It's not just the civilians who used to get unique designs in this series either, starting with Super Mario RPG. The first few Mario role-playing games furnished our favourite monogrammed falsetto enthusiast with an array of allies to aid him in battle. But after Super Paper Mario for the Wii, the series diverged radically from the original formula, stripping out a lot of features, including partners. And when they finally did come back in Paper Mario the Origami King, there were only 4 of them, half were yet more toads, and all were blander than a bucket of lukewarm porridge. I mean, look, naming your toad chef Zest Tea isn't exactly putting Nintendo in the running for any Pulitzers, but it beats looking at a Toad Professor and saying, I don't know, how about Professor Toad? There was a time where Paper Mario fans would have been thrilled to get a Toad partner, but with Toad fatigue having taken its gruesome toll on the fandom's psyche, and most papery partners of yore being repackaged Mario enemies, perhaps we should focus elsewhere in the franchise's rogues gallery. Seeing as the good professor's gimmick is digging, the sensible choice would be someone who already shares a similar proclivity. Perhaps a Monty Mole from the aforementioned mining town happens to have a professorship in archaeology and Shia LaBeouf impressions. Likewise, a fresh new look for Captain T. Ode, more brilliantly creative naming from the linguistic wizards at Mario HQ, would suggest something similarly seafaring. Seeing as a Cheep Cheep has already been done, how about a blooper instead? Considering they're already noose-proof, keel-haul-proof, and couldn't walk the plank if they wanted to, doubling that flabby head flipper as a captain's hat with tentacles forming a beard would give us the most OP pirate that ever buckled a swash. Kamek also presents a wasted opportunity, in my indomitably humble opinion. This is the same decrepit reptile that's been rattling around the franchise since The Rock had hair, but I think it would be more interesting to make this a new character entirely. The trailer introduced him as a Magikoopa that loves to clean, which has never actually been a character trait of Kamek's before. So instead, what if this guy was Bowser's janitor? I'd have him sub in workwear for the usual robes, fly around on a modern broom, and face the world with patented minimum wage indifference. And as for Bobby the Bob-omb, well, I actually tackled this topic back when the Origami King first came out, with plans for a follow-up that never quite materialized. With Paper Mario actually being somewhat topical again for the first time in years, I figured this would be my last best chance to make use of the design sketches that have been gathering virtual dust at the bottom of my ideas folder. So if you want to see what Bobby would look like with an actual character design, alongside a few other denizens of the Origami King world, check that video out. And in fact, some of the character designs from that video actually wound up in a fan-made mod, the Origami King Refolded. The links to all of these are, as they say, in the description. The vellumentals are actually a fascinatingly innovative set of character designs, in that they somehow found a whole new way to disappoint. Despite not being yet another regurgitated Mario minion, these boss monsters are still just large, faceless, featureless, personality-free origami animals. I've seen grade school math problems featuring more memorable characters than these. Interestingly, the game does make clear that they looked like something else before being folded into these insipid figurines. So even though Nintendo made damn sure you didn't get to see what that was, we can have a go at filling in the blanks. To give these 4 elemental animal spirits full new designs, we'd need to combine not just the animal in question and their allotted element, but the Mario art style itself. The Earth Spirit is naturally the easiest to work with, as there's about as much a turtle shortage in the Mushroom Kingdom as there is a BO shortage at Comic-Con. I think that gives a pretty good idea of what this thing might conceivably look like. Nothing says Mario Marine Life quite like a comically redundant pair of goggles, so that is a must for our water vellumental. The franchise is also more saturated with overgrown reptile than a Mark Zuckerberg fan cam, so there's plenty of stylistic reference here too. Birds, on the other hand, don't have so many options if we're looking for our fire spirit's basis. On the upside, if this gig doesn't work out, with a little vinegar, I'm sure she could make for a real memorable episode of Hot Ones. And the Ice Vellumental is probably the trickiest one, seeing as I think mainline Mario has a grand total of 1 bear character. Maybe 2 if you place any stock in fanfiction about Foreman Spike. It seems Nintendo wasn't satisfied with the recycled characters and plain upscaled enemies that comprised the boss fights of the last couple of Paper Marios. No, those were simply not uninspired enough. So on this front, the Origami King really takes the biscuit. Nothing quite says thrilling climactic battle like making your big bads a set of large, featureless office supplies. If the plot has the evil Origami King turn stationary into his generals, I think a better design approach would be to picture these objects as actual new characters, such as we might have seen in Paper Mario's gone by. One possible approach would be to make a monster that resembles the stationery in question, like I've done with the colouring pencils here. Now I've heard of a pencil skirt, but this is ridiculous. The original rubber band boss is the closest thing to a real design among these guys, seeing as it wears a sort of home job Wicker Man costume. Inexpressive execution aside, in principle having a design literally made out of the stationery is also a viable angle. Plus, with the previous games featuring characters like Grubber and Tubba Blubber, this design gives us too good an opportunity to pass up. Yet another option would be going less literal, filling the function of the stationery instead. Hole punches are a somewhat awkward visual to deal with, so a character that bites holes in things might serve us better. And nothing in Mario bites more than a piranha plant, with the possible exception of Mario Pinball Land. So along with those polka dots that never seem to go out of fashion in the Mushroom Kingdom, kinda resembling punched holes, I think we've got ourselves a pretty good fit. A good fourth approach would be to have our character wield the stationery as a weapon, like this Shy Guy swordsman and his comically oversized scissors. I hope he doesn't plan on running with those. Then for the fifth approach, I ran out of new approaches. So here's approach number 2 again for the tape boss. And that's our last word on redesigning characters from a Mario sub-series with middling popularity at best. We can only hope that come the next one, Nintendo will finally actually give fans what they've been asking for the last 20 years. A dating sim starring Wonky. Let's play a game. I'll draw someone famous, and 3 people that guess who it is in the comments will get a shout out in the next episode. If your guess last time was the Twitch streamer Asmongold, no relation, you are absolutely correct. Zach's rule from the Wheel of Winners is the first 3 correct guesses to say something nice about the video. Diamond Bricks built up a strong lead, taking first place. B21 was no B-lister, snagging silver, and a novice turned out to be an expert, claiming third. Well done everyone, thanks for playing. The intense eyes on this week's subject look so permanently miserable that these days they're frequently mistaken for a pair of Star Wars fans. Their nose is long and epic in proportions, so much so that Denis Villeneuve had to break it up into multiple parts. And moreover, those big old ears stick out and demand so much attention they could have come straight from the Extinction Rebellion. Now who could this be? If you know who that was, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, whack that subscribe button with your hammer. But this has been the Harry Gold Show. So until next time, stay safe, and God bless.